Hi, I'm Bob. I'm a volunteer mediator here. It's nice to meet you.
I'm Amy.
Amy, nice to meet you.
I'm Steve.
Steve, nice to meet you. So the court orders you here for a mediation orientation, and I'm here to do that for you. Let me explain a little bit about what we're going to do. I'm here to help you have the kind of conversation you'd like to have. There are going to be many possible outcomes to this conversation. At the end, you may have something you'd like to write up, and we can do that for you and submit that. But we're not looking for any specific outcome, so it may be that you reach a verbal agreement, and it may be that you simply have some clarification in your own mind about what you're thinking about or what the other person is thinking about, and can articulate that better. So we're not really goal-oriented in terms of what we expect. I have no expected outcomes for this conversation. Everything you say here tonight will be confidential. Although you may see me taking some notes, that's only for my own use to help you with your conversation. And those will be discarded at the end, and I will not repeat anything that goes on here. You can be assured that it'll be totally confidential. If you need a break, we're allowed 2 hours for this conversation. If you need a break, you get tired, just let me know. You need a bathroom break, I can show you where the restrooms are outside. If I need a break, get tired, I may ask you to allow me to have a break. That's generally what's going to happen to help you do that and have that conversation. Sometimes couples may find that it's difficult to talk about a particular thing, and we can have a mind bent here, sorry. We can have a separate conversation. And that would be also confidential. I would go with you, and you could talk. We could talk one-on-one about something that you felt uncomfortable talking about here, and that would be offered to either one of you. If you talk about anything that involves violence or physical abuse, we would have to bring the mediation to a close, as that's something I would have to report. Other than that, this is going to be your conversation. Sometimes couples like to have ground rules or guidelines for the conversation. If that's something that interests you, you can do that. For example, no swearing or no screaming or no yelling. So however you want this to go, it's up to you. It's totally your conversation, and I'm just here to help you have that. Does that sound like a conversation you'd like to have?
Sure, can try it. Yeah. Let me tell you what it's about. It's a kind of issue discussion that happen all over the country, I think, is that, I'm the chairman of the science department here at the high school, and Amy's a parent, and she thinks that there's some prejudice, some bias in the way we teach our science courses against girls. She thinks that we treat the boys, give them more attention, and they get better grades and everything else, and so I don't know where she's getting this idea. Probably she's got a daughter. But, she's just...
So there's a gender bias.
Yeah.
That Amy, you feel in the school, and Steve, it sounds like you don't believe that that's an issue.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, let me just tell you what goes on here. I mean, I'm a parent in this district. I've been here a long time myself in the area. I have a daughter who is absolutely an amazing student. She's straight A's, except for in this particular science class. She's just top-notch in everything she does, and she really has a passion for science and physics in particular, and she's just getting barely a C, sometimes a D in this classroom, and it's just absolutely crazy that she cannot perform better than that in this classroom. There's preferential treatment to the boys. They get to do the special labs. They're always asked to go on the special, field trips and excursions and scholastic scrimmages and, there's endless things that this school district does, and in particular the science department that completely put girls at a disadvantage in the science field. It's ridiculous.
So this is very apparent to you. You see this special preferential treatment going to boys in terms of the special activities, but not being addressed and the same opportunities being offered to the girls.
The girls are not welcomed in that classroom. They're bullied, they're put down, they're criticized about their clothes, they aren't seen at all as equals in this classroom, at all. And they don't get the grades that the boys do.
It reflected in their grades.
We get this kind of complaint, all the time, it's just they make up these excuses. See, this is what's, I'm being picked on.
So you think it's just that they're being picked on?
Sure, that's what they say, they're just being
They say
picked on,
that.
and that's their excuse for not doing the work. Or for not having the background that they need to do it.
So you don't think they have the background and to do the work?
That's right.
My daughter performs at a high level in all of her classes. I can't imagine that she'd be doing anything different for this one. But at this point, she's so emotionally scarred by this man that maybe that's possible. But it's his fault if she's not performing at this point.
So I get blamed for being a traditional teacher. I'm teaching the same way I was taught when I was in high school. I just had my 50th reunion a few years ago, and I'm teaching the same way. There were girls in our class, and this is the way
Clearly is the
education's
problem.
supposed to be.
This man has not kept up with the times. He needs to retire. This is not how you treat
What's she
people.
to tell me I need to retire? She's a parent.
So she definitely should not be telling you when to retire, someone who's been in the business for 50 years and really knows his subject matter really, really well.
That's right. That's right.
He may know his subject matter, but he's no longer capable of teaching children equally in the classroom. He's absolutely behind the times.
Behind the times. And he's
Girls
obviously,
are at a disadvantage trying to get into science and math and everything anyway. And when you have girls that have an interest in these things, they should be encouraged and brought along and almost given extra special treatment because it is so rare.
So when I have a test, I should put the papers in two different piles. This is the girls' pile, this is the boys' pile. And then I grade the test, and then I add 10 points to all the girls' papers.
Not
Is that what you're
I'm
talking about?
saying. No, not grading the tests differently, but perhaps in your classroom simply encouraging instead of discouraging them from even wanting to be there.
so I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is important that there be no gender discrimination. And you're talking about how boys and girls are treated, but you feel that girls that are showing an interest may need to be nurtured a little bit more. And
Yes.
Steve, you're saying that, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to separate into two piles and give any type of preferential treatment to the girls just because they're girls.
Well, that's right, that's totally unfair to do that.
Unfair.
Unfair to treat them differently, yeah. I mean, they were brought up differently. Look at the kinds of toys that they play with and the kinds of things that they do. Girls play with dolls and things like that. Boys play with machines or Legos and stuff they can take apart. They learn certain kinds of thinking skills, doing those things that are
Clearly.
different from the ones that girls
So
learn.
boys and girls have different thinking skills.
Yes, yeah.
I really think you're dating yourself here when you talk about that. Do you know how many Lego sets my daughter has put together?
Has nothing to do. You know, she can play with Legos
Yeah,
and
we do it all these days. It's not so role play, gender, boy, girl, house and Legos, a doctor and nurse. That's not how this world works anymore.
so the world has changed and Steve has not changed with it.
Steve is way behind the times, and it's not just his treatment of her and her knowledge and everything else that he refuses to see in her when she has such a passion for this. She's done extra camps in the summertime. She's taken classes, online and over the summer, and she does perfectly well. There is a problem with this man's style and his bias towards boys or whatever else it is that is clearly impacting my daughter and her ability to perform in this classroom.
Yeah, so she's showed a lot of initiative, done things above and beyond.
She's a
And really-
unique individual. I won't tell you she's not. I mean, she is her own person, and she shows that in how she dresses and how she carries herself and things. So, whether I don't really know whether he's discriminating against her because he doesn't like the clothes that she wears, or he just doesn't really want girls in science. I have no idea.
Do you think he may be discriminating and that
What an
shows up?
accusation, that's not fair. I don't have anything against girls in science. The trouble is that the girls come into my class already at a disadvantage. What am I supposed to do?
So
Are you kidding me?
So Steve, you feel that girls are coming in with a distinct disadvantage?
Yeah, they go to these camps, and these camps are just a bunch of frills and whistles and stuff.
Not a real camp,
They don't,
but they do
they
a
don't
real
really
learning. No,
learn
no
any
real
science
learning.
at those things, no.
It's just a girls' camp.
Yeah, yeah. You probably sit around and
I
talk
think you
about.
see clearly my problem. He doesn't think girls are capable as boys are.
So you're both talking about, these gender differences, and Amy, you feel that times have changed, boys and girls are equal opportunities. But Steve, you're saying that boys are boys and girls are girls, and they're always going to be separated, and girls go to camp, but it's girls' camp, and it's not like boys' camp.
It's just that they don't, they're not taught the same way, and so they don't learn the same things, they don't learn the same skills.
So they're not learning the skills because they're girls.
Yeah, because they're taught differently.
Girls have always been capable. Girls have always been able to do these things. They just haven't been given the opportunities. Nowadays, you're more likely to get an opportunity, except if your teacher is this guy. My daughter is a junior. She's applying to colleges next year. He is ruining her chance of getting into a good school by not getting her through this physics class like he should.
So
She should have an A, and she's not going to get into the school that she wants to
See,
because
she
he's
just wants me
being
to
a
grade,
jerk.
add a few points to her test.
I want you to treat my daughter fairly in that classroom.
So this idea of fairness is important to you, and Amy, you see fairness in part as being, here's a girl interested in science, she's done well in a lot of other classes, bound for college, and she may need to be nurtured a little bit because that's important, not because she's a girl, but because she has an interest in this discipline and in performing well. And Steve, you're saying that, girls will be girls, and you're not going to change a grading system just because she's a girl.
That's right. I don't think that's fair. Doesn't do anybody a favor to do that.
I can't believe he's actually saying
So nobody should be nurtured because that's not important.
Well, nurturing I think is important, but the point is that when you get a test, you have some task to do. You either do it or you don't do it. People get to be an engineer, they have to design parts for an automobile, and they either design them right or they don't design them right.
And a girl can design them right just as much as a boy can design them right. But you're not giving the girls, especially my daughter, an opportunity in your classroom.
So opportunity should be the same, boy or girl, makes no difference.
Absolutely.
She's got the same opportunities, she's just got this attitude.
What attitude? She's a teenage girl.
Well, that explains some things.
You'd think you'd be
Yes.
accustomed to that after all these years of teaching, just what a teenage girl brings to the table.
Yes, a lot of them bring an attitude. Yeah.
And
So-
so therefore, none of the teenage girls who have, their typical teenage attitude are allowed to perform well in your science class.
No, they're allowed, they just don't.
Because you won't let them.
So Steve, sounds like you're saying teenage girls are different.
Some of them have a real attitude.
Teenage girls have an attitude.
Yeah. They have an attitude. They think they're smart. They think they're special because they have this interest in science that they started in 5th grade or something, and they learned all this stuff. They didn't learn it very well, and the stuff they learned wasn't particularly right, but they've got this attitude. They know everything.
So girls
Just
have an
teenage
attitude that they
girls.
know everything.
A lot of the teenage girls do.
A lot of the teenage
Not all of
girls.
them, yeah. Her daughter happens to be one of them that has a real attitude.
So this attitude is a real issue for you.
Well, yeah, it'd be an issue for anybody. How are you supposed to teach somebody who thinks they already know everything?
So people come in with an attitude they're really difficult to teach.
Yeah, the attitude is, I don't need you. I already know this stuff. So you've been teaching here for 30 years, so what? Yeah, you're probably just an old-fashioned guy. So I don't need to listen to you.
Oh my
So they take it out on you personally.
Yeah.
You do need to stay current with teaching methods. You have access to all kinds of technology at that new school. You have labs like beyond creation, and you're just stuck in your formula and chalkboard, and that's all you're going to do. And so I can't even believe you have boys interested in your classroom either, because you just aren't doing the job you should be doing. And as a mom of a girl in the classroom, she is suffering, and she is completely incapable now of being in your classroom because you treat her so disrespectfully and you don't think she's capable, and she now is internalizing that and feeling that. And I don't for the life of me understand how you can run a classroom like that.
I'm just trying to be honest, that's all. Look, do you remember, you probably don't remember, you're too young, but you know, back in the 60s, the Russians put up a satellite, Sputnik, and it scared the heck out of the US. And they said, we gotta do that, we gotta get somebody, we gotta build us big rockets, and we gotta do that too, and maybe we'll set this goal. Kennedy said, oh, we're gonna put a man on the moon. A man on the moon, got it? Okay? And so they got all these engineers, all these people that have been educated by people who learned to teach physics the same way I did, using the books, using the log tables, using all that other stuff that we did, you know, and they learned that stuff and they were able to put a person on the moon. That's a pretty spectacular technological achievement.
Absolutely.
And they learned how to do that by the techniques, the same teaching techniques that I'm doing.
Yes,
So what's
but
the problem?
in this day and age, you need to apply your physics knowledge and teach it, be able to teach it to girls as well as boys. Girls are as capable as anyone else out there, and because you think they have an attitude, which they're just being teenage girls, they're treated like they're bossy, or they're not taken seriously because they're a girl.
So it's all coming down to the fact that Steve's treating girls differently than boys. You're both talking about, you know, approaches to teaching, and Steve, you're saying, well, you know, I've been using the same teaching style forever, the same style that put Sputnik up.
Yeah.
And Amy,
Not
you're
Sputnik.
saying, you know, times have changed, and that, you know, you have to go with, you know, the times are changing, and that there are new innovative ways to teach and reach out to boys and girls.
Acknowledge that women and girls are just as capable as men and boys of these things.
If they were just as capable,
But they-
if she was just as capable, then she would get the same grades on my test that the boys do.
You know,
What's the problem?
you're grading them, and you've
So you're-
entered her mindset and challenged her that she's not capable of doing this. She questions everything about her being now because for some reason you won't give her the confidence she needs to take these classes. You know, a girl is demanding and bossy, and they're a bitch. A guy is demanding and bossy, and he's a leader. Do you not understand that all of these people are capable of all those things, but you in particular can't see them as equals?
So it's really a problem. I mean, you definitely think Steve's putting boys and girls in separate categories. There's this gender bias, and
he's
you
really
believe that
affected my
this is-
daughter's mental health as far as this classroom is concerned, and she's now feels incapable because he's put her down so much.
So it's so bad that it's having a real serious effect on her, and
Which is
he
why
should be encouraging her,
He
but
thinks she
instead,
has an attitude.
She
but-
does have an
Attitude.
attitude.
so her daughter has an attitude,
Yeah,
and that's what's holding her back,
yeah.
and she
And a
can't
lot of the
perform
girls
well.
do, yeah, yeah.
So it seems like the two of you have a big difference in terms of what attitude means between boys and girls. Amy, you say, you know, two people come in with different, you know, the same attitude, but if one's a girl, it's going to be looked at differently, as you say Steve is doing, and Steve, you're saying, no, that's not true. I treat everybody the same, and it's the grade, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, look at all the students I've had over the years. I've been teaching now for 30 years, and you know, mostly it's boys that take physics, because you know,
These girls
they're brought
aren't
up.
encouraged to do it.
Well, that's the families that don't encourage them to do it.
So girls' families discourage
I
them from
guess
it.
so, yeah.
Think so.
That's why I usually have boys in class. I would imagine.
You know, there's such a
they sign up.
reputation you have in the school district that girls are afraid to take your class because they know how you treat them, how you grade them, and that it ruins their GPA and they can't get into college. They just don't take your class. But my daughter genuinely has an interest in physics, so she's in your class. We didn't heed the advice of those other parents in the district, and now I'm sitting where I am, and she has no future.
This is really distressing. I mean, somebody who's really interested girl in physics.
She has no future. She has a future.
Not if she gets a D in your class.
Well, if she got her attitude straight, she wouldn't get a D in my class.
So Steve, you're talking a lot about her attitude.
Yeah, so tell me, what is it I'm supposed to do different? Tell me what I'm supposed to
Give
do.
her every opportunity that you give the boys. Build her up just as much as you're building up all the other boys. Give her a chance in this classroom. And don't bring in things into the classroom that don't matter, like the way she dresses or whatever. It's appropriate, it's different, but it doesn't matter to you teaching her. You need to build up your students instead of tear them apart, especially the girls.
So Steve needs to
So I
work
need
on
to
how he works with
discriminate
the
in
girls.
favor of the girls. They gotta be especially nice to the girls.
You know, if you're
Not
gonna
supposed to be
discriminate, why don't
fair.
you just discriminate the other way, and then you wouldn't have me sitting here complaining.
You don't want me to be
You don't have
fair.
the boys' parents in here.
You want me to be fair, you want me to give all the
I
girls all the
want you
breaks.
to be fair, but I need you to admit that you're currently not fair.
Well, I treat everybody the same unless if they have this attitude that they're so much better than everybody else.
She's a teenage girl. She's, gonna give everyone a little attitude right now. If you've been doing this for so long, you would know that she's a typical teenage girl. Nothing more than that.
So this attitude has nothing to do with the fact that she's, doesn't want to learn physics. She wants to learn, she's doing the best she can, but Steve seems to believe that she has an attitude that is holding her back. And Steve, you feel this attitude is a real hindrance to her moving forward.
Yeah, yeah.
He's holding her back because of what he calls her attitude. When she's not any different than any other teenage girl. He just prefers the boys' attitude.
So attitude is, to
So
Steve
there is a
is
difference between the girls and the boys. She admits it. She admits that the girls have a different attitude than the boys do. Right? And so it's no wonder, she said before that it's a lot of girls don't like to take physics because they don't like me. And she said it's because the girls have a different attitude than the boys. So how am I supposed to be fair?
Well, it sounds like the both of you are talking again about attitude, but and Amy, you're saying, girls are afraid to go to his class because he seems to show them, preferential treatment to boys, and so it's extremely difficult and makes it more, onerous for them to take his class. And Steve, you say you're not doing that. That you treat everybody fairly, but sometimes girls come in with an attitude that makes it difficult for you to teach them.
Mm-hmm.
Girls and boys are different, for sure. But you would think after being a teacher for 30 years, or however long it's been, that you would know the differences between the two and how to work to pull out the best in each of those genders.
So you're saying there is a difference, but it really, in the long run, what's important is how Steve individualizes his teaching to any particular student.
Yeah. As a parent, I'd really like to see that, some individualized education. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you're not gonna do it if I got a class of 25 people. I could do it maybe if I had 2 in a class.
Oh, come on. I think you can do better than you're doing now, that's for sure.
And what is this business about how teachers are supposed to pull out the best in the kids?
Yeah.
They're supposed to do what they're supposed to do. I set standards, you gotta learn this, you gotta do these homework problems, you gotta do this stuff on the test, that's it.
I don't think so
I don't
anymore.
understand that.
I mean, because you are biased, you then get to come up with the way how you're gonna teach the girls and how you're gonna teach the boys. If you treated them all equally, you wouldn't have to be so different about it. But you clearly have a set of rules for the boys and a set of rules for the girls.
There's attitudes, attitude makes a big difference.
So
How I'm gonna treat somebody.
rules are dependent upon attitude. You're both talking about teaching, approaches to teaching. And Steve, it seems as if you're saying, I teach everybody the same way,
But he
no
doesn't.
difference. So he's teaching girls differently than
He admits
boys.
to doing that. He does it he doesn't think that they're inherently as capable.
And that's what's
And that's just
holding her back.
flawed.
That's what?
Flawed
Flawed.
thinking.
So, Steve, you have flawed thinking, according to Amy.
Well, she just doesn't understand the way girls and boys are brought up.
They're brought up
They're brought up differently.
differently.
Yeah.
And that affects their attitude when they come into your class.
Well, it affects their thinking.
Their thinking.
It's the way they think, yeah.
How
This
can my daughter
culture has
possibly
huge-
return to this classroom with this monster in there?
It's a real problem.
But there's no way I'll send her back in. There's no way. And he'll tell you this is all my fault. He'll tell you it's my daughter's fault. I mean, really, that guy right there is the entire problem for the entire school district.
I tried to get her to tell me what I should do differently. And what she told me I should do differently is to treat her daughter better than anybody else. And to make sure I try to pull things out of her and make little adjustments in her grades if I have to, so she can feel better about herself.
So you think Amy is telling you to give her preferential treatment that you don't feel comfortable with doing?
That's not fair.
Okay,
Not
so
fair.
can we even not do preferential treatment? Could we just do equal treatment? Because right now, you're treating my daughter like crap. She's at the bottom of the barrel. She's not even being treated like a boy or above. She's down here. So if you want to treat everybody equally, then treat them equally.
So give me an example of a way I didn't treat your daughter equally.
There are so many. They go into the classroom, they sit down. You don't like the seat that she's chosen for that particular day. You make her move to the side of the classroom.
Well, yeah, because she's sitting there next to her boyfriend and they're just gonna yak, 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 yak the whole period.
They're teenagers. Could you just get with the program and give them all a break?
So it sounds like that's distracting to
Let them
you.
yak, 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 yak the whole period?
They don't yak,
That's what
yak,
I'm
yak
supposed
the
to
whole
do?
period. But
No,
you
if
put
they're
her
not
on the
yakking, they're
sideline
texting.
because she's a girl and you want your core of boys right in front of you. Then you diminish her and demean her with every question you ask. Her answers are never right when she volunteers. Now she's not even afraid to volunteer in your class and you're knocking her because she doesn't volunteer. But when you're rejected and dejected so many times after volunteering, you get to a point where you don't volunteer anymore.
So she's afraid to volunteer anymore.
He's brutal. He's ruthless. But the boys, if they give an answer wrong, oh, we just work it out and we figure out the problem together and everything's fine. If a girl gives the wrong answer, shut down. Just diminish, demean.
So his teaching style is different on whether he's addressing a boy or a girl. And that has a real effect on their willingness to participate.
Very much.
They're either going to be encouraged or they're going to feel as if they shouldn't participate if they're a girl.
Well, I don't know where she gets her information about that. She gets that from her daughter, who's got this attitude. And no wonder she gets, I admit that when her daughter gives some answers sometimes, I'm kind of dismissive. Because she's got this attitude that she thinks she knows everything.
So you're saying that sometimes you can be dismissive, but it's because of her attitude.
That's right.
She's a teenage girl.
So I'm supposed to teach teenage girls differently from the way I teach teenage boys. That's what you're saying, right?
Because you're incapable of treating them the same, yes, you need to treat them differently. You're not getting through to the girls. Don't you want your students to learn and be successful, or only just the boys?
If they're willing to learn, then that's fine. I'm happy to try to teach them and let them be successful. But if they come in with an attitude that they already know all this stuff,
She
then,
does know it all.
see?
You won't
See
even
that?
give her an
She admits she's got
opportunity
an
to
attitude.
show you that she knows it all.
So she's smart, and she's not afraid to demonstrate that, but Steve sounds like you're saying that she's a know-it-all.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some stuff that she doesn't know, and she won't admit it.
There are just so many things here. I can't even.
So let me just check in,
Begin.
the two of you have been talking about a lot of things, you are both talking, when we talk about gender, boys and girls. Amy, you feel that in this day and age, girls are making as much progress as boys. Maybe they need a little bit of encouragement. That's okay, because they've been held behind the 8 ball for so long. And so
Absolutely.
it's all right if you give them a little bit of special attention, but it's encouragement. It's not giving them
Yes.
special favors,
No.
and you're not asking for special favors.
Yes,
And
yes.
Steve, you seem to think that, by making some differences in your approach to boys and girls, that, you're giving an unfair advantage, or that you're not treating everybody equally because, hey, everybody needs to come in, but it seems to you that girls are coming in, Amy's daughter is coming in with an attitude. Amy, you don't see that as an attitude.
No, they're just teenage kids.
But she's admitting that the girls come in with a different attitude than the boys do.
So,
Okay. She's admitting.
You
that.
gotta figure out how to manage that.
I did figure out how to manage that.
Do you have any kids of your own? Do you have a boy and do you have a girl? You kinda don't,
I have a boy and he doesn't have an attitude.
so you don't feel boys have an attitude. Your boy doesn't,
No.
but girls do.
Some girls do.
Some girls,
Her daughter, for example.
her daughter.
you can tell he doesn't like her.